Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to this, your Taurus 2024 calendar forecast. Hi, I'm Nigel Saint James, clairvoyant. And what we're going to do in this reading is we're going to take 12 cards, one for each month of the year. And that way we get to see the trend of how things are playing out. Of course, you'll get far more detailed monthly readings on my channel, which you can just go to through the content section, and they are very deep, as this is going to be a very good survey, I think, for you. So let's have a look at it now. Now, do you know I've lost track of the number of your Taurian sisters and brothers that I've done personal one-on-one clairvoyant readings for from different parts of the world over the course of the last year. And if you might be interested to see what's involved in that, check out the information that's in the description box below at the end of the video. Now, I've also done a number of healings. Now, of course, readings I charge for. Healings, though, I do for free. It's part of my soul contract. And so, if you would like to take advantage of that, that's also in the description box below. But now let us get things underway. There are no video advertisements breaking their way into this content, and so you get to enjoy the experience without interruption. Let's see what there is in store for you, the highly talented and attractive Taurus. Let's go. And the first for January is Judgment. February, Page of Coins. March, Page of Wands, fascinating. April, the High Priestess. May is the Two of Swords. June, the Devil. And July, let's go here. There's the Mage, that's called. This is a medieval deck. That would be the Magician, presumably. It's got a number 1 on it. There's the Four of Cups. That's always a good card, I think. Let's have a look to see what it says in connection with the other ones. There's the Tower. And where are we up to now? Here we go. The Knight of Cups. Knight of Cups. I'm getting a vibe from that already, I must say. There's the Emperor. Well, that's a good one for you. January, February, March, April. July, August, September. July, August, September, October, November, and then December. Okay. Early onset dementia, I would reckon. Now, here we go. And there is... that's the star. Well, why don't I bring the vision around here so you and I can have a good close look at this rather fascinating medieval imagery together while I do the reading for you. Well, they say that January is the time for New Year's resolutions, and here you come, first up here with this Judgment card in January. And what this is saying to me is that you are going to make a decision, I think, which has something of a major impact on your life. Now, what that decision is, of course, you will know what it is, but it could be related to work, it could be related to lifestyle, it could be related to how you go about looking at yourself or about the world. And these things are, I've got to say, these decisions are positive for you. Very positive for you. I think it's also a time for you to move on after seeing the bigger picture rather than being caught up in yourself. Elevate yourself up and say, what is the environment around me and where do I fit into it? And then what am I going to do about it? It's a natural period of growth and shedding of things and people, I have to say, which really no longer serve you. I think you will be highly choosy about things, and you will have a very hard look at yourself about what you need to do to improve. It's a time of closure. It's also a time of you making your mind up about things and of you taking definitive action. But you understand, of course, that an all-encompassing insight cannot be achieved solely through your mind. Rather, body, spirit, and soul, they are drawn into the process of forming a judgment, and this process, through it, you will instinctively move towards that which will support your blossoming and move away from that which will offer you no help. And then in February, what do we have? I think you're going to find yourself being really quite dreamy and romantic. having romantic thoughts, almost daydreaming about things, I think, because we have here this. And the first thing that I must tell you is I see a lot of Scorpio, a lot of Sagittarius, and a lot of Libra around. Now, Libra, of course, is your sister sign that also shares Venus as its rulership. Now, this could well be a young woman that you know who's very gracious, quite voluptuous, sweet, gentle, kind, but again, romantic and dreamy. This could also be applying to you. You will, however, have emotional freedom during this period, and jealousy will be conquered, and you will have great trust in yourself. It's also a time, I think, where people may think that, look, you're not really doing much and maybe self-indulgent, and I mean that respectfully, but actually you get along and you do things in your own way. And you might also find that you become, well, dependent on one or more people during this month. And look, that's okay because you give so much. You give so much in return. This is a great feeling of love all around here. And say this to yourself in particular at this time. The more I love myself, the more I can share with others. Now, we saw those people that were involved with you in January. I think what we have here is, let me have a look at this Page of Wands, and let me have a feeling about, well, these people in February rather. Let me have a look at this Page of Wands here. Now, who's likely to be important to you here? I'm really getting a lot of Leo, Virgo, Cancer around here. Look, this is a time when, frankly, you are going to be just ferocious in your passions of whatever kind, and you'll be entirely reckless as to how you go about satisfying and gratifying your appetites, whatever they may be. And I have to say this, that you will in some respects be insatiable. Now, I see you being very energetic during this period, very individualistic as well. People are going to see, you're not going to be a member of the herd. Taurus, of course, there's the bull. The bull is out by itself. You will be like that, an individual. You'll be brilliant and daring, and you'll be very expressive in love, and you'll also be expressive in anger, but certainly a great degree of enthusiasm around you. Do you know what's also going to be happening? You are going to be freed from fear. You will conquer your fears, and moving on from this card that we saw in January, you're now putting into place the new beginnings that were being fermented in January. There's an increased optimism with you now. Your old fears have lost their power over you. Now their dead corpses cannot frighten you any longer. And reflect now on what your greatest strengths are. I think you will be confident, daring, exciting, a nonconformist, freedom-loving. Although I see freedom coming up in this card here as well in just a second. And people are going to love your character and energy. Now, I will say this. There could be something of an element of revenge around you during this period, and you could be temperamental, unruly, shallow, or cruel. I mention that just so you can manage it. But this is definitely you conquering your old fears and patterns of thought. You've now brought them to the surface and conquered them, although it has to be said that you have often learned your lessons the hard way, haven't you? Yes, really a sense of a desire for freedom around here. I'm getting that coming up from this card as well, this energy that's coming here. And the energy I have is that of the energy of the moon. So this is something which is going deep inside of you. But the moon is also something that it goes dark and then it turns into light again. So there's a resurrection, there's a rebirth that's going on here. And the moon represents cycles and going with the flow of life. Now, I think what we'll have here is that you will have access to your intuitive powers and a great desire for independence here, and you'll have definitely increased self-confidence, and that's flowing over from this Page of Wands. People are going to be dazzled by your beauty, you know. You will be discovering your own truths, and there's going to be an emotional stability about you. I think that this can also signify the beginning of a really good social friendship with somebody here, and maybe even a period where you take some downtime to work out what you really want and to let your mind process things. But of course, you realize, don't you, that changes on the inside are necessary to make changes on the outside? There's a need for you to connect and be more confident with your intuitive or feminine side. Now, for the men listening to this, don't be concerned about that, because femininity and masculinity are principles. They just express themselves differently through the particular genders. Say this to yourself here: I trust my intuitive abilities. I deeply honor and value the human being I am. I am intuitive and perceptive. I trust myself and I honor my sense of integrity. This is the beginning of a very great creative cycle for you. You will be asserting your independence. You'll have increased self-esteem, and you'll be becoming aware of intuition as a gift. It really is a time for you to discover that oasis which is within you. Now, that influence of the moon continues, I think, in the month of May, and it is reflected in this image here, the energy contained here, which is otherwise known as the Two of Swords, because I see the moon ruling the first decan of Libra, that 23rd of September to the 2nd of October. This is a really happy combination. Look, did you know that your moon sign describes your instinctive or emotional energies? Now, with the moon in the sign of Libra, you will, I think, be likely to have a deep need for peace and harmony in your life. That follows on from this High Priestess looking inside. Now, Libra, of course, as you know, is symbolized by the scales and is about balance. Well, this balance relates to any area of your life, and this could include your personal environment, it could include your work environment, or your relationship with others. There is an inner peace here, and with that, the power to make sensible decisions. And also, in particular, decisions regarding a situation or relationship which bring about emotional and spiritual peace to you. Now, this is a time of great peace for you. Inner peace, of course, is a special gift. Protect it, but never try to cling to it. Now then, of course, we come into June, don't we? And what do we have going on here? You realise I'm moving through these quite quickly. The monthly readings are more in depth. We've got to get through because we've got 12, and I'm worried about your time, of course. Now, here's the devil. Oh, that's an interesting depiction of the devil. And it's like a bit of Adam and Eve action going on there as well, exiting the Garden of Eden. And are they apple trees there? Well, of course, that story was contained in chapter 2 of the Hebrew Bible, the first book of Genesis, or the Old Testament in the Christian tradition. And did you know, no fruit itself was mentioned. So it wasn't an apple, as is popularly understood. This, however, here is Saturn ruling Capricorn, with Mars exalted. But here, Mars, which can often be very difficult, Mars here is showing its best form, the material, fiery energy of creation. So there's a lot of procreative energy around you, a new vitality. I think you'll actually be quite funny. You'll have a great degree of humor about you. Now, sensuality is dripping all around here, as is sexuality. People are going to find you especially sexually attractive, and I think you may well find, now whether you act on it or not, you may find that you have a great sexual attraction to somebody else. There's a creative energy here. And individuality again. Now, I've got to say, just watch how you go, because I think that you could head off in directions or do things or take actions on the basis of blind impulse without necessarily thinking through the consequences. But you'll have great endurance and you will be irresistibly strong here. Do you know, this card, I think, here, this energy represents for you, I think, a time where you'll have... It's very good for things to do with work, however broadly you want to define that. And it represents, I think, here, I'm really getting a feeling of tunnel vision. The reason why that is the case is because the devil's vision is usually directed at some material goal. Now, that can relate to work or an ambition or just looking after your own best interest, and there's nothing at all wrong with that. And this also says or implies, I think, that you can really accomplish a great deal if, first of all, you know what it is that you want and you can put it in one sentence. So you are focused on getting that. It's interesting how the gods favor the focused. And the devil, of course, isn't distracted by other things. He's really focused on the task at hand. Now, Saturn is in Capricorn here. Well, Capricorn is the sign of business, career, worldly success, and social standing. And these things, I think, are going to be important to you, and you will attain them. Now, Capricorns are usually hard-working and high achievers as well, aren't they? Now, what's also interesting about this for me is that Saturn rules Capricorn in astrology, and Mars is exalted in Capricorn. Now, Mars governs your sex drive and your creative energy. So this energy has very strong links to the material side of life and self-ambition. And Capricorn is opposite Cancer on the zodiac wheel at the top, and in the winter solstice round about the 25th of February. So there is a link here also to Christ consciousness as far as I am concerned. Now, we've just talked about those planets of Mars and Saturn. And over here we have a very interesting planet. In my book, the energy here is that of Mercury. Now, Mercury is the go-between between heaven and earth, or between the divine and humanity. And it's also about communication. Mercury is the master of communication and also trickery in some respects, it has to be said. So I think that this is saying that you will have great communication abilities here, and in fact, you'll play around with all possible forms of communications. There's going to be a flexibility to you, and dare I say it, there could also be moments of brilliance for you as well. This is a time when you'll be taking action because you will feel you have power, and there will be the manifestation of your ideas and desires. There's willpower coming in here, and with the influence of Mercury, I've got to say, you will be something of a smooth talker. You'll be able to get your needs met by communicating with people. Now, this is also saying to me that you'll have a great sense of timing and flexibility when it comes to what you say. And you'll also have the great ability to listen and understand what other people are saying, to look behind the words that people are saying. Now, I think you might be gifted in the following sort of areas, actually: visual arts, music, diplomacy, that is, getting things across, sales, public relations, getting a point of view across is what I see here. And you should be saying to yourself now, I create magic when I use my inherent gifts and talents. I honor the resource of skilled communication which is within me. The full expression of my creative potential fulfills me, and it makes me happy and satisfied. Now then we come into August, and gee, you cannot get away from the moon, can you? Because I'm seeing here the moon in Cancer. Look, the moon in Cancer is really good because Cancer is the most maternal of the signs. It's receptive. It's like a womb. You know, the womb within a woman that can take a fertilized egg and then grow it into a fetus, or it's like a fertile garden bed that can enable things to grow and then to blossom. And with the moon in there, the moon is at its best state, its best feminine and intuitive sense. Now, the moon rules Cancer. And what I see here is great love, great tenderness, and emotional riches all around you. But don't just settle for what you have. And I think that there is a sense I'm getting around here about a danger of emotions taking on a life of their own, where moderation can be cast aside and thrown to the winds, and you are driven by the emotions unconsciously. Now, in this case, this clear sky here, it darkens and the water loses its clarity. Now, in times like this, it's best to be doubly awake, especially in familiar or intimate relationships. And just beware that you're happy in relationships and there's nothing oppressive going on. And that doesn't just mean romantic relationships, but that could mean friendships, and it can also mean work environments. Now, I'll give it to you straight. I'm also getting a sense around here of dissatisfaction in life. Maybe you've become too familiar with your environment, and maybe you'll start looking for material things for happiness because you have a lack of motivation. Well, what you need to do is to set some new goals, because there's a sense here that perhaps you could be seeking temporary pleasure as an escape from a feeling of discontent. And that obviously can lead to a set of problematic behaviors such as over-drinking, taking too many drugs, or overeating. Does that ring a bell? But this does remind you to realize what you do have and to appreciate it, because there are a lot of others worse off than you. But the main point here is that you are being given much love and devotion, and enjoy it without becoming dependent on it. But just be aware at this time, are you in any relationship in which you feel restricted? And are you expressively devoted to someone? And is it healthy? Well, you know how we talked about Mars being in that devil card there? Well, Mars comes into this card, and here it is Mars in full attack mode, coming in to destroy this tower and make life obviously difficult for the people that are there. But that's just a metaphor, really, because what this is talking about is a period, I think, when you might be actually going through some far-reaching inner changes and a healing of yourself, a healing from relationships, putting things in the past, letting them stay in the cemetery, because the old is going to be destroyed to make room for the new. There's a self-knowledge coming here to you. The good thing is about here is that there's also, I think, a real sense of release, of a revelation of just getting it. Do you know what I mean? And breaking down old forms or patterns. And in a sense, this is a period where it is the calm after the storm. Now, spiritually, this power of this consuming Mars energy coming in destroys the old and sweeps it away, and nothing is spared. Now, this also does speak to me of I love the energy of this card, because it is the restorer, the healer, the renovator. It is the energy that possesses strong healing. And I think you'll have an unusual ability to regenerate and to restore yourself. You'll have the gift of self-healing, I think, mentally, emotionally, and physically. And there's a deep need to constantly eliminate what is unnatural, false to fact, and not of yourself. You'll be very good with the structure of ideas and building, design, decoration. I think things to do with hair, fashion, makeup, even computer games, software, things like that, gardening. And you will have a very fine mind which will enable you to get to the heart, the real heart of a matter, whether it's a situation or a relationship. Then we come to this Knight of Cups in October. You know, this is actually an interesting thing, the way it's there in front of the Emperor and behind this tower, because this suggests to me, first of all, I think Scorpio and Libra are going to be important to you. You might well find that. I think that there's a period here where there's a great degree of intensity with you. You may appear calm, but it will mask a passion and an intensity which could make you quite volatile. Now, you have much to offer. There's an immense ability here, but just to make sure that you do follow through on what you say that you are going to do. Now, it could well be that you put yourself first, that you say, look, my main responsibility is to myself. Well, look, that's true, because if you're not around and healthy, then you can't help anybody else, can you? But you might find that you could be secretive and hide your deepest desires. But you'll be able to give great insight into other people's lives, I think, at this time here. And I think you should say to yourself, I now live out my sexual desires because this makes me more vital and fulfilled. Then we go, I have to move through these pretty quickly, I'm sad to say, but we've come to the Emperor here in November. Now, this is an interesting time for you in November in 2024, because I think that you will be something, there's a lot of Aries around here, so you're going to be something of a pioneer, a discoverer, a leader, an initiator. There'll be a lot of creative wisdom with you, and people are going to see great leadership quality with you. And there'll be an urge for action and an adventurousness, a new beginning, an order, structure, the establishment, interestingly, are going to be important to you. So is ambition. And I see you taking a stand, and you've been quite firm with yourself and with others. Now, in the workplace, I think there's a promotion offering here. There's success through discipline and self-discipline, and you'll be a rational thinker. I think that status is going to be important to you, as is material security and stability. But you could be quite volatile and fiery, just as this night was, and not passive at all. And then finally the star, and the star says to me, a lot of Aquarius around here, that you will be fulfilled and inspired by life. And it's a reminder for you to follow your dreams that give you the most inspiration. Be open to love and trust creation and what it brings. And the encouragement has been given that although you've had testing times, they're over.
I thought that was fascinating, didn't you? And didn't you enjoy the artwork on the cards? It's so unusual, isn't it? You don't really see anything like it anywhere like that. I must try and remember who it was that gave this to me. And you know, the best thing is with tarot decks is that people actually gift them to you rather than you buy them yourself. Did you know that? And the tradition is to tie string around the deck before you give it to the person as well. That's the old tradition anyway. But look, if you did enjoy the reading, please do me this favor, and it's the only thing that I ask for you. Would you smash the like button on the way out, because it's good for the YouTube computer thing. You know, you understand how that works, probably a lot better than I do, I must say. But until I see you again, remember one thing, and it is this, that you are a legend. And I look forward to seeing you again next time. And until then, it's bye for now.